Shotgun is an extremely popular choice for home defense, and just like with ARs, recently we received a lot of questions from first-time gun buyers about what do I do with my shotgun. Shotguns are often touted as the most versatile category of firearms, and yes, indeed, they are useful for everything from small game hunting to large game to less lethal to personal defense. There's different considerations when you're setting up a firearm for all of those pursuits, and so let's take a look at personal defense and shotguns. Once again, this is a basic video, by all means not complete, but you absolutely get started in the right direction. First and foremost, safety and safe gun handling are absolutely critical. Take a look at our basic firearm safety video. Read your firearms instruction manual very thoroughly. Whether you're an old hand and experienced with firearms, new to firearms, or just new to shotguns, safety is where everything starts. Operating system. Unless you're a cowboy action shooter with tons of time on a side-by-side, let's stick to autos and pumps. With a pump action shotgun or an auto-loading shotgun, make sure you read your owner's manual. There's not as much standardization in the way the controls are laid out as there is in an AR, so you need to be familiar with what exactly is going on with your particular firearm. We need to know where our action bar lock lever or action bar release and our safety as well as our pump are oriented and how we need to interact with those. On an auto, there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different manuals of arms on those, so you need to be very specific and get into your owner's manual. Shell catches, shell releases, bolt hold opens, things like that, charging handles. So make sure you understand your operating system completely and thoroughly. Some advantages to pumps in that you can work with a wider variety of energy levels in your ammunition, everything from super light recoil to super heavy, without worrying about the energy that's required to run the gun. But of course with an auto, just like any other semi-automatic firearm, every press of the trigger there's a round going down range, so there's some advantages there. I will say that with a pump, it is entirely possible to get a very reliable pump action shotgun for a very reasonable price, and it's a little more difficult to do that with an auto loader. Generally, your price for a reliable gun is going to be a little bit higher. No matter which you choose, make sure you take the ammunition that you've chosen to fire in that for self-defense purposes, head to the range and make sure you function fire that shotgun with that ammunition. Because there are different operating systems out there and you need to become familiar with it, one thing I absolutely recommend is get yourself some dummy shells. Dummy shells replicate the size and weight of standard ammunition, but they have no powder and no primer. They're completely inert and safe. So learn your firearms loading and unloading and safe handling from the manual or from another video out there. Get yourself some dummy shells, practice that until you're comfortable, and then move on. Safety buttons. Mossberg shotguns generally have the safety button on the top of the receiver. That's a great location for both right or left-handers. You don't need to mess with that too much. Remingtons and other shotguns that have the safety button on the trigger guard, either in the rear or on the front, you may want to take a look at an extended safety button. Most shotguns oriented at defensive purposes have a barrel length somewhere around 18 to 20 inches. 18 is the legal minimum before it becomes an NFA shotgun, as opposed to hunting or competition shotguns, which may have longer barrels. It's not that longer barrels can't be used for self-defense, it's just that a shorter barrel is much easier to move around in confined spaces or in your house. Unless you have a box magazine-fed shotgun, you generally have a magazine tube under the barrel. They come from the factory usually between 4 and 6 shells. Some of them come with an extended magazine tube, and that's really what we want to take a look at for a defensive shotgun. Shotguns start off with not a whole lot of shells, and they're slower to reload once you use all those, so we want to start with the most that we can. An extended magazine tube, if you didn't come with one, you can get it from a variety of manufacturers. And what you want to do is you want to get yourself one that goes pretty much to the end of the barrel, but not necessarily past it. Not that that's dangerous, it's just that it ends up adding length to the shotgun. You can call up the manufacturer for any given tube. They'll make sure that you get the right model, the right spring, and everything to go with it. Most of them are user installed. Some of them, there are some gunsmith operations required if you get like a newer Remington 870 that requires a dimple to be drilled. But once again, most of them, simple instructions, get that on your shotgun, make sure you replace the spring. Function fire after you change a magazine tube. Choke is a measure of constriction or tapering towards the end of a barrel, which generally is used to aid patterns or tighten patterns up with birdshot at distance. With a defensive shotgun, if that's what you bought and one that was oriented towards that purpose, you generally came with a fixed cylinder or improved cylinder choke, which is very little restriction, which works best with buckshot and slugs for defensive purposes. If you came with a shotgun that has interchangeable choke tubes, go ahead and start off with an improved cylinder choke in that shotgun, and then we'll pattern the shotgun and go from there. Even if you have just a basic bead sight on your shotgun, it can be used quite effectively. Everything from rifle type sights to ghost rings to red dot sights, which have a lot of the same advantages we talked about in the AR segment. A lot of the shotgun sights, though, if you're going to change sights out, they do generally require gunsmithing. If you did buy a defensive shotgun, may have come with them already installed, however, in which case you're already set. Lots of things to choose from out there. Get a set of sights that work for you. You can use all these at great speed. It doesn't slow you down to have a more precise sighting system. No matter what type of sighting system you choose to use, make sure you go to the range with the ammunition you intend to use and get a zero, just like with a rifle. A little bit different with a shotgun. We generally have a pattern. We need to make sure that our point of aim equals our point of impact with the ammunition we intend to use. Generally generally use the center of the pattern when we're doing buckshot and making sure we have a 0 there. Otherwise, if we intend to use slugs, we can just get a slug 0 and then make sure that our buckshot pattern coincides nicely.